Hello, all Velocity and OmniStudio enthusiasts. Today, we are going to look at the practical use case that I've recently implemented as a part of my Salesforce project. Now, this use case looks very simple and straightforward. However, it is a bit tricky and requires a bit of an OmniScript experience and some creative workaround. So, let's start with the requirement. What I have in OmniScript is this custom validation step in which what I need to do is there's radio buttons, three radio buttons, which says the label is last name mandatory, but the three options are yes, no, not applicable. There's a repeatable block, and when the radio button says yes, then I want to make this field mandatory. Simple, straightforward, right? But not so simple because this is a repeatable block and things when it comes to repeatable block things don't get simple and straightforward because user can add many repeatable blocks like this, and you don't just want to make one field mandatory but all this field. If the value is not punched, then it should throw an error message. Last name is mandatory. So yeah, that's the use case. And now we are going to start working upon this use case. And for that, what I'll do is I'll create a new OmniScript. I would name this script as radio button validation check. Type, let's say valid validation check. I should follow the naming convention and keep it lower use case. Validation check, repeatable block. You can name it whatever you fancy. Then what we can do is some description. So this OmniScript demonstrate how to implement custom validation based on radio button selection and save. Now, first thing that we have by default is let's say step. Now there's this property and all. As per our requirement, what do I need? I need a radio button, but before that, I don't like this step one, so I'll probably put some label here, custom validation, and then what I'll start doing is let's first start adding all the components that are there. So I need radio button, radio, and here there are various options available. Now, what I'm going to do is uh, I'm going to name it select, and I'm going to label it last name mandatory, and um, it's an optional radio button, so we don't necessarily have to punch value here, so I'm not checking the required. You can play around with the properties as per requirement, and I like basically button groups, so I'll keep it button group. uh, Horizontal, I will keep it button group. And then what were my options? Yes, I'll label it yes as well. uh, and save and new, no, I will label it no as well. Save and new, and then not applicable, and save. So as you can see, first we have added this radio buttons, 3 radio buttons as a part of requirement. Now I need to add repeatable block. Re, uh, Sorry, not repeatable block. Block. So we'll add a block, and what we would need is copy element to make it repeatable. So we have to check this checkbox copy elements that makes it repeatable block. Now this block has become repeatable. Now what do I need? I need two fields, text, text to text inputs. So one, and I can clone this as well. I would say this as I will name it first name and label it first name. Now see, as a part of our requirement, I will label it last name and last name. Now, if you remember, as a part of our requirement, we can't make this field by default required because that will make this field mandatory regardless of this radio button. So that's the tricky part. So we can't make it by default required. And that is why I'm not checking the required value here. Now, let's see. When we click on preview, things are working fine. I can click on check, and as you can see, based on selection, things are happening behind the scene. So that's the first part, but that's not what we want. We want to make it mandatory, this last name mandatory if yes is selected. So what I will do is I will add a formula, and I will add that formula in the repeatable block. Now, why I've added this in repeatable block is because what I want to check is if there is yes is selected and this field has a null value, then make this formula true. So let's start writing this. If condition, I would say percentage, and then you get select equals what do we provided? Yes. Yes. So this is basically our radio button's name select, as you can remember. And we need to provide another condition for, I'll copy this. I will show you what I mean. Uh, so there is field which is in block. So for block, since we haven't given any name, by default the block name is block1. I'll show one. Because it's repeatable block, we have to use this pipe sign and n. So remember this is very crucial. Pipe sign and n for repeatable block, and then our field last name. And what do we need to check? Equals to null. So if this equals to null or or blank, let's check blank as well. So I'll just copy this and paste it again, and let's check this as well, and that's it. I think I made a mistake here. It should be uh, ended here, and this should be end here because the value should be in percentage. So this is basically a path, and what do we need is true and false. An unexpected end of expression. I might be missing any one. This is not needed, and that's it. There was one extra uh, bracket which I've removed. So this formula is saved now. I'll come back to this formula again. So see, this is false value. What we have done is, this is our step one. Then this is our uh, radio button that has name select, and this is our block which has name block. Now let's make it user, label user, and name is block. So what I did is I've created a formula inside the repeatable block which checks if select equals to yes, which means select is this element. Now to select an element, I mean to refer an element, we use percentage sign. Now since it is outside repeatable block, I could just use select percentage sign equals to yes. Now why I've selected yes? Because I've provided value as yes here if this is selected, and when that is selected, I want to have this to true. But that will, so let's check if it is working or not. If I click on preview, I click on yes, it's working, it's working, it's working, right? But if I add this value, then it should become false, right? But it's not becoming false. So let's see why it is not becoming false. Because all these fields are empty, and as a part of our requirement, uh, it should be all filled. But this is not working so far. So let's see why it is. That's one condition. Now we need another formula that should be outside this. Let me. Uh, yeah, see, it's working. When we check, it's working for all. So first thing is fulfilled. And then when I do this, then it should become false. But I've only added string here, and this is becoming false. But I need all fields to be mandatory, right? So that for that, what I need to do is I need to have another formula. I'll add another formula here, and in that formula, what I need is if then uh, because what it gives is like in the repeatable block, it gives a string response. And what do we name our uh, formula? What do we name formula? We didn't name our formula, so let's name our formula. What do we name formula? So usually what I do is I take this as a name, a standard name, uh, formula naming convention, and is radio. Yes. So that's a name of my formula. Field label, we don't care because we will eventually hide it. So formula won't be visible. And the next formula, what do we name it? Let's name it FRM is true. So, and we also need to set error, error, set errors, and step 2, here we will just add some success message. It can be anything random. This step is not very crucial, but just for the sake of totality, I'm adding it. And now when user comes to this step, it should be success. So when user provide appropriate last name for all fields, they should be coming here. Now this is the formula. As I've said, what I need to check here is uh, if now contains uh, I will go to step 1. Step 1 has block. Block 1 is the name that I can remember. Yeah, because we didn't give any name. And for block, since it is repeatable block, remember to put your pipe n for repeatable block, and then I need to refer to my is radio. Yes, so this is the name that we have given for our radio button. So that's that. Now if this has value which is true, This time it's a string, so I'll put it in string true. And this bracket, it's true, false. Unexpected contains, this ends here, and the percentage sign, block 1, syntax error, column 1, if contains, is it correct spelling, contains, yeah, it's correct spelling. Step 1, colon, block 1, and FRM percentage. Yeah, that's extra. This is not required. Yeah. See, this is how it is. Pretty simple, but yes, you have to keep an eye on the brackets. Now, we also need to set an error message to the radio button. That's why we added the set error. Now, in the set error, what all things that we need is, first of all, here we need to add element, and in the what is the error element is going to be our radio button, which is select, and uh, this is my last name is mandatory, is my error message that I want to show. I will save it, and when we added this error message, right now there is no condition to it, but we need to add condition, right? We don't want to give this error message all the time. So what we need to do is show only when, remember the formula, the second formula that we have created. When this formula is true, its value is true, then only show this error message, else give the success message. So that should be our that should meet our requirement, and let's test it. I will see. I have not hide the formulas on purpose deliberately. The reason being, I wanted you guys to see what is happening behind the scene. So I've made this selection yes, and see, I've not added any last name here. I've added another repeatable block. So this condition is true. That means if this condition is true, then it should throw an error if I click on next without providing the last name. Voila, that's fine. It's giving an error. Last name is mandatory. Now let's test it. Test. Now I've provided one value in the last name field. This has become false. But see, this particular formula is still true because last name is still empty, and that is exactly what we want. And if I click on next, it will still throw you an error. Last name is mandatory. But as soon as I start adding the value and click on next, now it should not throw an error, and it should take me to my next screen. And there we are. on the next screen. uh, yeah, so it is working fine, and which is working as per our requirement. Let's see if no is selected. Let's delete everything. Let's remove everything. If no is selected, then even if I don't pass any value to last name, it should take me to the next screen. And yeah, it is taking me to the next screen. So that is it, guys. The scenario is working. Now, some cleanup activity, which is once the things are working fine, you can click on this hide button and the formula gets hidden. And here, let's put not in instruction, uh, but we didn't add text. We need to add text. Uh, Text block. Why it's not adding text block? We put it. Can you? Why it's not letting me add text block? I just need to add text block. Yeah, finally, instead of putting success there, I'm putting success message here. And let's have a final run. Close this one. Now see, the formulas are gone. So for the end user, it will look clean and crispy screen where user has selected yes. That means this is mandatory. No matter how many repeatable block you add, this field should have value in it. And if it doesn't, then it should throw an error and it is working fine. And last name, Surya, last name Shah, last name Smith. Now we are all good. We have provided last name. Clicking on next. Success message is there. Let's do one more test. Now this is not selected, or we have removed all this value. Even if we click on next, success, because that is fulfilling our requirement. So that's it, guys. Hope it was useful.